The Mazda Miata is going electric, the recently announced QX60 is getting more engine options, and going forward on the channel, I'll feature Volvo from time to time. Over the drive, Mazda wants to electrify the MX-5 Miata by 2030. I'm sure there's a million things going through your guys' head. 6-speed manual, is that going to stay intact? It's going to get heavier, it's going to complicate things. I'm with you guys. I have a lot of questions going through my head right now, but by 2030, Mazda has confirmed that the MX-5 will be electrified in some shape or fashion. We will work hard to make it lightweight, affordable, open-seater sports car in order to meet the needs of consumers and customers. So the fact that they're saying lightweight means there's no way by 2030 that if it's using current battery technology, it's going to be lightweight. And imagine throwing this MX-5 around the track multiple times for extended periods of time as well. So it just wouldn't work in terms of weight and heat management. Like, I feel like the battery technology that we have now in 2021 just isn't good enough to be an MX-5 a few years down the road. Now, if solid state batteries come around, that could change things massively. And, you know, Toyota's working with Mazda for a lot of things, and Toyota also is one of the leaders with solid-state batteries. Could the MX-5 have solid-state battery technology? Of course, eventually. I don't know how long down the road you guys want to look, but by 2030, we're going to have some form of electrification. So we're going to go over to this spreadsheet. The thing that makes the most sense to me would be replacing the 2-liter Skyactiv G that we currently have with 181 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque, and replacing that with the Skyactiv X 2-liter, which has a little bit more horsepower and a little bit more pound-feet of torque. The problem is we've only seen this engine set up with the 6-speed automatic transmission. I don't think that there's a manual out there for this 2-liter Skyactiv X. It can get really good fuel economy. It would still stay rear-wheel drive, of course. It is a very mild hybrid with a lean supercharger. So it's kind of this freak Frankenstein engine sort of thing. It definitely makes the most sense to me. Now you guys might be saying, well, what about a plug-in hybrid? Well, for a plug-in hybrid, if they were to go that route, that doesn't make sense with current battery technology. I think the batteries right now would be too heavy for that sort of setup, but they are working on a plug-in hybrid 4-cylinder. So this could be an option by 2030 if they're able to put some sort of small solid-state battery in there. So that will be interesting. I guess that's a possibility as well, but I feel like that's going to be heavier. So to me, Skyactiv X makes the most sense. But I'll see you guys down below on what kind of electrification you think Mazda will put in the MX-5 by 2030. Now, we're heading over to Car Buzz. We did a live stream on the channel for the new QX60 reveal with Kate Hudson. It was pretty entertaining, and it looks pretty good for the most part, except for the exhaust tips on the back. They kept it, they carried those exhaust tips over from the monograph concept, which I just don't know. Anyways, the car looks very good. Besides that, the interior looks great. We're getting the V6, 3.5-liter V6, 295 horsepower in the United States with a 9-speed automatic, ditching the CVT. Now, what's interesting is this vehicle is going to be produced here in America as well as China. Infiniti has a pretty big China market as well. And for China, they're going to be getting the VC turbo engine. And looking at the VC turbo, it's a 2-liter. We see it in the Ultima. It doesn't make nearly as much power as it does, let's say, in the QX50 and QX55. 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. For the first time ever, the VC turbo is getting paired with a non-CVT transmission. So that throws out the rumors that the VC turbo could only be paired with a CVT, because they're going to be producing the VC turbo with a 9-speed automatic for the Chinese market. Now, in terms of electrification, for hybrids, Infiniti wasn't ready to share many details. You got to remember a while back, I made a video on how Nissan is they've patented or trademarked, I should say, iPower, which is the same thing as Nissan's e-Power, which is their version of hybridization, but it's a fully electric driven. I'm not going to get into the details. I'll just put a diagram on the screen for you guys. But it is very promising, very fuel efficient, and gives you the power feeling that a full electric vehicle does. Now, they're saying this is not an electrified powertrain because the customers in the segment today are not asking for it. I feel like Toyota said the same thing a while back and then unveiled the wraps of their electric cars. So yeah, people are definitely asking for it. Rigaud is saying people are extremely happy with this combination. I would say they are extremely happy because it no longer has a CVT. So we're making some progress here. And of course, they're monitoring electrification in every segment for every market. So it doesn't mean we have to stick with this formula forever. There we go. Also confirmed that the QX60 as well as a Pathfinder platform can accept an electrified powertrain. So there you go. It will eventually have e-power. If it doesn't, that's a huge fail. And for Nissan and Infiniti, that's like your unique electric powertrain. And for the fact that Infiniti doesn't have it at all is really frustrating from at least my standpoint. I want Infiniti to do well, I want Acura to do well, and I want Lexus to do well. And when they're all at their best, they're all making each other better. And unfortunately, Infiniti is definitely not at their best right now. The QX60 is the redesign is going to pull them forward in a lot of ways, especially with a nice interior and an all new infotainment setup. But man, powertrains, we need that electrification from Infiniti. And I would like to see it for Acura as well, but that's a different topic altogether. Now, what if iPower came to the QX60 in the next couple years? What would it look like? Well, I think they would use the VC turbo. And if they wanted to make it a non-plug-in hybrid, they could, but they could also put in a larger battery pack for that sort of setup. Now, I think if it was just going to be iPower alone, non-plug-in hybrid, 300 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, but it could get around 40 miles per gallon. But what if they did a plug-in hybrid? Well, I think if they do that, they could get a lot more power out of this setup, up to around 400 horsepower and over 442 pound-feet of torque. These figures right here are essentially the same motors that they use in the upcoming Aria, the top trim of the Aria. So they use something like a 20 kilowatt hour battery. You could get over 40 miles of range on it with almost 400 horsepower. I think that would be very interesting and would definitely set Infiniti apart in that regard. But V6, 9-speed automatics, all we have for now. It would have been nice for Infiniti to make a splash with something new, something unique to set them apart, but we don't get that. And lastly, we're going to talk about Volvo. I had a poll up this week saying, well, I'm working with someone new, and what do you guys think it would be? I think I put Tesla, BMW, Volvo, and Porsche. I've always liked Volvo. Volvo is going to be featured on the channel. It's not going to be like every single day I'm switching to Volvo. No, it's nothing like that. It's just like every once in a while I'm going to talk about Volvo, just kind of like Mitsubishi as well. I don't really ever talk about Mitsubishi. It's probably going to be the same thing with Volvo. I've always liked Volvo. My uncle had an old 200 series wagon when I was growing up. This brown 5-speed manual transmission. Like, it's always been an interesting brand to me. I like their designs. I like their interiors. So I'm only going to cover brands that I like. And it doesn't mean I'm going to cover everything. I'm a one-man show. I can only cover so much and be somewhat niche-y. Is that a word? Oh my gosh, sounds like douchey. Anyways, with that out of the way, I will be getting a Volvo XC90 Recharge in the coming weeks for review. So you guys, if it doesn't interest you, that's perfectly fine. Only watch the videos that will interest you. My core will always be Japanese and Korean for the most part. And Volvo just has kind of slid in there because I think they're cool. I also think Porsche is cool, so don't rule them out either. So guys, yes, I'm not going to cover domestics anytime soon, not going to cover the Germans anytime soon, even though I like Porsche quite a bit. That's about it. So let's get into the Volvo news. There's a lot going on with them, okay? Their sales have been doing well the past few years, and they interest me as a company, their growth and their uniqueness in the market and the products they provide. So there's going to be a Volvo Cars Tech moment. This is going to be June 30th at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and here's the countdown for it. I will live stream it. It's going to be a long live stream, like 2.5 hours, lots of Q&A going on in it. So I'm going to be live streaming it and hanging out with you guys to talk about the future of Volvo. They also gave us an agenda. So there it is. You can pause it right here if you want to see the agenda. But there's other Volvo news out there that's pretty recent. They're teaming up for a joint venture with Northvolt. It's another Swedish company. They will be producing batteries together as soon as 2022, at least the research and development side. I think their plant will be up by 2026. It's a 50 gigawatt hour plant for their electric vehicles, and they're going fully battery electric by 2030. That's extremely aggressive. They also have their Polestar brand, which will be produced here in the United States to some degree. This press release, Volvo cars expand U.S. electrified vehicle production in South Carolina with new $118 million investment. The Polestar 3 battery electric vehicle will be produced in South Carolina alongside the S60 sedan. Also in South Carolina, they're building a campus to educate Volvo employees on all of their upcoming products and current products. It's going to be 112,000 square feet for training and development space. I think this is pretty cool. When I was working for Lexus, I went on a few different trips to different training areas. The one I went to the most was in Naperville, Illinois, and that's essentially what Volvo is doing. They're just going to have one training place where Toyota and Lexus have multiples throughout the country. So I think this is cool. And lastly, next generation pure electric Volvos come standard with LiDAR and AI-driven supercomputer. And this is pretty cool because it's going to be powered by NVIDIA's system on a chip. So if you guys are computer fans like me, you're not your chances of getting a GPU are even getting slimmer because all these car manufacturers are reaching out to AMD. I think AMD is now in Tesla, by the way, and NVIDIA is going to be here in Volvo. So your graphics processors are even going to be harder to find if you build your own computers because they're all going into cars. Yikes. Anyways, standard LiDAR is going to be on the successor to the XC90, and it's going to be fully electric. So I am getting XC90 recharged, like I said, in a couple weeks. So that will be interesting. They're probably just going to call it the C90 because I think they're also producing a fully electric version kind of the XC40, but they're just calling it the C40. So they'll probably discontinue the XC40 recharge. But that will be revealed in 2022, that fully electric XC90, C90, whatever they're going to call it. So I think that's pretty neat. And guys, I'm going to end it there. Mazda, Miata becoming electrified in some shape or form. It's really interesting to see how they're going to do that. Infiniti saying, oh yeah, you know, our new QX60 can be electrified and can have a VC turbo with a 9-speed automatic, but you don't really get all those options, at least at launch here. And then Volvo, guys, adding them to the roundup of news and reviews on the channel. And if you're worried about it, just don't watch it. I know a lot of you guys are excited for it at the same time, and you would like for me to cover more and more brands, which is perfectly fine. And if you're not into it, I totally understand. Just watch the content that you appreciate and you are interested in. I will always have Japanese cars at the core of what I feature. So it'll probably be something like Japanese cars are like 60% of the coverage. Korean cars are probably 20 to 30% of the coverage, and then I'll have some auxiliary companies that I cover outside of that. Volvo, maybe Porsche eventually, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe for more automotive news and reviews. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.